Hi, Tormod here, and I would like to explain to you some of my findings and some of my experience about the mind of a schizophrenic, or the minds of a schizophrenic. Now, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I'm just an ordinary guy, born schizophrenic, working my way through exactly that. So, from my experience with living with schizophrenia, and from having very many friends living with schizophrenia, both physical friends of mine in the physical and also online, I've come to learn a thing or two about this illness, most definitely. And there are some really, what shall I say, aha moments within this discovery that I make with schizophrenia. First of all, check out aircraft.com. They have a very cool interview about schizophrenia, aircraft.com. For the schizophrenic often has several mind units and several different personalities within these mind units, even like added up, sort of. Like you added to have multiple personalities in one mind unit and multiple personalities and reactions and patterns and thought constructs in one's different mind platforms, mind elements, mind boxes. This makes everyday life very complicated for the person who is schizophrenic. Within the flick of a second, the reality of the schizophrenic can change from totally change. Like the reality is just like poof, shifted. And that can be scary, most definitely. That is not something to just joke around with, because it can be very serious. And this sort of handicap or autism or schizophrenia is a tough illness to deal with, most definitely. The mind of the schizophrenic is often, or the minds, I should say, the different minds, or the minds in total. There's often several different mind boxes, like in the labyrinth, or like going in spirals and so on. With one mind governing these minds, even that is like the coconut that you can't break, sort of. And the world of the schizophrenic is very fragmented, polarized, and very much in pieces. The world of the schizophrenic person who is suffering from schizophrenia is a world in scatters, like they say with Gabor Mate's book about ADHD is scattered. Very similar to that in those terms of what we're looking at in a whatever male 30 plus schizophrenic since whatever, and seeing that this person's world is very much scattered, and there are like with any people, interests of maybe of more conspiracy character, because one is so afraid of life and afraid of what is hidden within self, of discoveries that can be discovered as qualities and points within self that needs to be strengthened and brought forth for real life, that is just like darkness and suppressed and denied deep within self. And so what I was left with is paranoia and fear and fragments and broken up split realities, and and a very a mind who is very easy to convey into conspiracy of self and of life. So this is my experience looking back when I was 25 or 27 or 26, and what my mind looked like back then, what my minds looked like back then, where was my awareness, where was my thinking, what was I thinking about, and so on, to go a bit deeper than just looking at how can we sell this person much medication as possible to heal the symptoms of voices and hallucinations and so on, just like dose that away with pills and medications. But with this video, I want to try, and my videos and my work, I want to try to go deeper into the understanding of why there is such fragmented, broken, chaotic minds of the schizophrenic person, and why it happens so that the world and the minds of the schizophrenic is scattered, broken, beaten, scared, lonely, often in the depth of one's paranoia, in the depth of one's mind. And me, for my part, I wouldn't have this level of awareness if it wasn't for walking consistently a process of forgiving myself, walking the Destiny I process of forgiving myself in great detail. And from listening to equaf.com interviews about this existence, why are we here, and who am I? Such an issue that, like fundamental basic issues that we are all, more or less, all of us are searching for. And so that often when you talk to people, when I talk to people who are schizophrenic, I can see that they are, what they're presenting is like searching and not really having any substance. It's often very loose, and it's because the definition of schizophrenia is not taught. Doctors sell drugs mostly. Most doctors just push drugs, and that is an honest thing. That's what I do. It's obvious. To heal the symptoms of voices and like the symptoms, to heal the symptoms. It doesn't deal with the deeper layers. Deeper layers being that one's personalities is scattered and broken and beaten up by other personalities within one's own mind, one's own living. One's personalities that one is brought up by school systems to obey and listen to and hold as authorities and all that bullshit. One's personalities where one is taught to obey and listen to, and to be programmed into this personality structure because that is how it has been for the last 5,000 years or whatever. When we know that this world is not has not been a good place for all to grow up. So what I call for people to investigate self. This is about the self, the physical body that we walk around in, that we often take for granted. That we need to start communicating with ourselves, to write to ourselves, to speak to ourselves, to get to know who we are. That is a point to start at, and to forgive the self. That is the further process. When you learn that a little fundament of self-trust, to talk to self, to write to self, to speak to self, and to dare to forgive the self. That is what can change everything in one's living. Um, so that I have moved myself from living in many different minds, boxes, units of mind, and just bouncing around in there, being sick and being deprived and being addicted, till standing here, being able to explain to you how my personalities were scattered, how I have voices, how I have medication, how I have this, how I have that. A clarity, responsibility, and that is just something that I want to do with my time here now, because I have found a clear cut and just like a unique way to work on self, either you're schizophrenic or not. Self-forgiveness is a profound key and a tool to use. Don't miss it. So you know, there are so many people out there searching and searching and searching and searching for something of substance. And what we often fail at is, instead of searching out there, search in here and develop and learn to know the self that carries you as your body. Learn to discover the physical as yourself, as your physical being, and who you are as a human being. That is one of the bigger meanings of life, to learn to understand and respect self as the flesh. So it's never too late to learn to work with self-forgiveness, to heal self. You know, some words penetrate deeper into our layers of mind and so on. And forgiveness is such a word to open up for and be forgiven within self. Not like God or Jesus or Buddha forgiving me, but me forgiving myself. Thank you very much. That is something else. And that is what I would like to bring to anybody who has whatever mental whateverness, because we're all more or less suffering in this existence, being locked to the programs of our minds. So back to the schizophrenic, where it's scattered and broken and you know, like chaotic. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be chaotic in fragments, in scatteredness and broken, ruined. It doesn't have to. Look at me. Look at how I have managed to get my life back on track, sort of. To rise myself up and have clarity in my tone and have self-directiveness, responsibility, self-honesty, and say to you that what I have walked, what I am walking is the real deal. So I can't do any more than that. That the rest is sort of up to you, you know. I cannot change anybody. I can only change myself. But I can expose and show what I find. What I find is profound and beyond, I can guarantee you, from in here, in myself, in my body, in my flesh. It is beyond. It is your responsibility to start develop self-communication, self-trust, responsibility, self-honesty, and genuine self-living in communicating with self, and then also being that reflection and life and solution for others around you. So thank you and enjoy, and see you around.